I'm going to lead the prayer today, so it's going to be very brief, and then we'll do pledge of allegiance. Lord, please help us make decisions in the best interest of the county, and please forgive us if we don't. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioners, on the this add-on item, I was going to suggest we put that on under consent. Does anybody have a problem with that? It's a road closure for the Blue Crab Festival Parade.
That'll be good.
Don't have any problem with it. Howard, is that all right? Okay. Heather, I think you wanted to pull something off consent.
Item 9, and I also was going to make a brief county attorney announcement under my time.
Also, I would like to add on under presentations, a presentation by Mark Mitchell on Restore Act Committee.
Do we have any other changes or deletions? We get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second motion.
Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas is not going to be joining us after he's sick.
His mother's here, so
Yes.
she could join us.
Questions? Mark, you want to come up and do our Restore Act presentation? Yes, sir.
How y'all doing this afternoon? Since our last update, the committee has held 2 additional public meetings that were very well attended. I think if y'all remember last time, our first one was not very well attended. These 2 were really good. The first one was March the 26th in Panacea, and the next one was in St. Mark's on April the 9th at the Yacht Club. We have 2 more public meetings scheduled. Shell Point will be next week on Tuesday, and then Sop Choppy Tuesday, May the 7th. The committee also held our regular scheduled meeting this past Wednesday. We had a very full agenda. The committee discussed rating criteria for projects. There was a lot of discussion about setting priorities for the projects based on the Restore Act. As y'all know, there are 9 criteria in the Restore Act, and a project must meet at least one of those criteria to even be eligible for funding. The committee will take this issue up again at our next regularly scheduled meeting on May the 8th, and we still don't have any rules from the feds, so we're kind of going by the seat of our bitches still. The committee also heard 2 presentations from individuals that are submitting their projects to pot number 2, which is the federal pot, and agreed to provide them with letters of support. The first presentation was by Stephen Webster, which is an oyster relay project, and he is working jointly with Ronald Fred Crum. And we also heard from Jim McFarland, who I believe has already presented a project to the board. Jim had 3 projects: a reef module, production and staging site, which could create 4 to 6 jobs. He also had a channel marker micro habitat system and creating artificial reefs for underneath docks and piers. And that's where we are at this point. And since I'm not going to meet with y'all again before the Rock the Dock Fishing Tournament, I would like to, as chairman, invite all of you to the tournament, and also ask you to come to the captain's meeting, which is Friday the 26th. It'll have live music and be catered by Posey's. We'd love to have y'all.
Has Jack Rudlow submitted anything for the pot?
No, sir, not yet.
Go ahead, Howard.
Yeah, that oyster relay, are you aware of any evidence to show that that is a viable and successful program, studies, science?
Well, the project that Stephen Webster presented is multitasked, and it has a large part of it is scientific. And I think we all said that we don't want any kind of just haphazard kind of relay that we've had in the past, that we wanted the science done first. We want to know if it's a viable project, just like you said. And according to Mr. Webster, that's his forte, that they will be able to do that before they move forward. The science will come first.
And that science study is being paid out of what?
I guess it'll be paid out of the Restore Act fund if it gets approved. Now this is all pot number 2, which is not what my committee has anything to do with. All we did was move them forward.
I want to add to that, to go on what Commissioner's saying, that the pot 2 of money, they don't really technically even have to come through the Restore Act Committee or the County Commission. They just let us know, what it is they're doing.
Exactly.
And there was a couple questions that was asked, but basically those questions that was asked, the only way to get answers to those questions is actually do the study and let the science find the answers.
That's right.
Gary, you want
Well, my question, I guess, goes to utilizing money from BP or wherever it comes from to first explore what may be an untested program, and that's a concern.
Yes, sir. It is a concern, and I think the science has to be there. But like I said, we don't have anything to say about that. All we're doing is, we think that it's a good project. We think that it will provide jobs and help, especially the Panacea area and St. Mark's area. And so we just put our stamp on it that we think it'll be a good project, and now it can move forward.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if I've asked, is it possible to set up an endowment for, let's say, Oyster Relay, that will keep it going, not just for a short time, but on down the road?
Yes, sir. I think that we'll address that. The longevity has a lot to do with them getting approved.
Yeah, so if you had an endowment that was drawing interest and you worked just off the interest or whatever, then you could move it forward, not just for the next 2 years or 3 or 4, but on down the road. And I was talking to someone the other day. It seems maybe that some of the people may not have a complete handle on their cost of their project. So I would think that we say we like the ore project, but they don't know exactly what the cost of the reef is, the labor to get it on the barge and all of that. It would seem to me that we could say we will do $1 million. Let's say we get a lot of money. Let's say we will do $1 million for the ore project. Even though they don't have all their numbers, and then when it comes to the county money, we put that in escrow, and when we get the plan put together, then we can spend the money. But to require these folks to know exactly how much money and where it's going to go, it's a little more difficult because they probably don't know that much. But I don't want to see, say, an ore project get turned down because they don't know their numbers today, when we can just hold the money in our account until we get the numbers.
I think that we've talked about that in our, that's the county money that we're
Yes.
talking about now.
Yes.
And there's a lot of follow-up that our committee is required to do in tracking, and I think it will be based on your project gets approved, then you're going to do so much work, and then you're going to get your money. It's not going to be something like, say they got $1 million project, we're going to give them $1 million and then never see them again.
Oh, yes.
That's not what's going to happen.
I understand that.
So,
The question, I guess still the question I have is, are we gonna, let's say we get an ore project approved, are we gonna bid that, or is that person that brought it forward gonna be the person on that project?
the person that brought it forward, and then we'll send it to you.
That's all according to the project and all according to what If it's a regional project, there may be another firm that's handling that.
understand that.
But like I say, there's no details on any of that stuff. We have to see, every project's gonna be a little different. But if it's an individual that's requesting that money in a project, then, at some point in time, they gotta give us their numbers. Just like a grant. It's gonna operate just like a grant. You gotta disclose your plan, your business plan, and your numbers.
In a matter of speaking, that would almost be a no-bid project, because you bring me a project,
That's all according to the project, yes, sir.
and I agree to your project, all of a sudden, you've got a no-bid project.
Well, like I say, it's all according to the project. There will be bid projects, and there could be no bid projects.
Yeah.
Let's say,
And
for
there could-
example, somebody awarded Jack Rudlow money to build his octopus garden. They give, I guess, whoever would give Jack the money, and Jack would build the thing, and we wouldn't have to be
That's
involved.
right, exactly.
If they award that.
But the thing is, they still have to use all of the guidelines that we go through. So it's not like they would just be stroked a check. No, that comes with extreme strings. That's what I keep telling people. They're a recipient, but they have to track everything opinion.
I still like the bidding process.
Well, if, say, two oyster relay projects came in,
That's sort of a bidding project.
then our committee rates them,
I got you.
and then we send it to you.
And if there's 2 reef restoration projects.
Right,
I like that. You
Yeah.
know, if there's 10, the better.
Absolutely.
Because you can pick.
Absolutely.
one. So, just because one project comes in doesn't mean 6 more people can't turn in the same
it
project.
sure does not, absolutely.
But here's the delicate side of that.
It's all delicate.
And it's all confusing. Everything with the Restore Act is muddy. The problem is you get all these guys presenting projects, and they'll try to get you to say, yeah, we really like this project, and they won't give you numbers.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
But, and it's the funny, either you know your numbers, or you don't. And you know what your costs are, or you don't know what your costs are. So that's where we gotta be careful to make sure that when we're talking to people, they're giving us intelligent and giving us real, I don't expect ironclad numbers, but I expect some pretty daggone tight numbers. If you're wanting to ask for money, you better well bring some money to the table.
It's just hard to get the best numbers if you just got one person with a project. And it's the citizens' money, it's the county money, it's the citizens' money, and you bring me a project, and you're the only one that does that. You're doing a reef ball, and it's costing, you're giving it to me as $6,000 for the ball, and I have it made for $3,500. I got a problem with that, but I guess it all works out maybe.
It's all gonna work, we gotta work through that, because you don't want a guy coming up here saying, I want y'all to approve this project, and his reef balls normally cost $100 a pop, and then all of a sudden you report in the project, next thing you know, they're $500 a
I
pop.
understand that, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And I think that's gonna come into our rating
That's right.
as well. All right,
Okay, thank you.
thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
We have a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Heather, item 9 you wanted to talk about?
Hold on. Item number 9 is the request to purchase both programming services and additional radios off of state bid. There's just one thing I needed to correct on the last item on the table that's listed on page 2 of your agenda summary is the reprogramming of portable and mobile radios. It's noted there that they are $25 per radio, and actually, per the quote, it's $20 per radio, so that needed to be corrected. It saves you about $2,000.
I make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Motion passes. David?
Okay?
Forgiveness of code lien.
Yes, this agenda item requests, board direction of an application for reduction of forgiveness of code enforcement liens. Ms. Jamie Bays is going to give the rest of the presentation, briefly.
Yes.
There's nothing brief with me. Okay, we've got a request for reduction or forgiveness of a code enforcement lien. The code board heard this case in May 12th of 2010 and found the property to be in violation. They required the owner to correct the violation and gave them a compliance date. The owner had failed to correct it by the compliance date, and there was a lien that was recorded as a result of that. This was back in May 12th of 2010. In August 2nd of 2012, we received a death certificate of the property owner, and stating that Jean Thur is the contact person and the will of probate, and appointing her as personal representative of the estate. Once she was made aware of the violation, she got right on it, took care of it, cleaned it up. And then from there, she had requested that the code board go through its process with the request of lien reduction. The code board considered it on November 2nd of 2012. I'm sorry, correction. They actually heard it on March 13th of 2013. And they did approve to recommend that the BoCC reduce the fines by $2,175, which gives it a total of $20,025.
Okay, is there a motion on this item? I assume we've all read it thoroughly.
I don't understand all I'm hearing, so they still owe 20,000?
Yes, sir. The fines, there's a daily fine that accrues every day that the violation exists. Once that property is brought into compliance, that daily fine stops. And when the county actually received a copy of the death certificate, the person that was responsible at that point cleaned it up, took care of the administrative charge, and then we were left with a outstanding lien balance.
But this would wipe that lien out. If we take action tonight, it'll clear the liens off the property, correct?
No, it will not. You're going to be reducing it from the time that we received notification. The code board actually considered the forgiveness from the date, the time we received the death certificate, from the time that we were notified it was in compliance. They forgave that amount of daily fine that accrued.
How much fine is left then?
20,000.
We just waived the whole fine? I mean,
I make a motion that we approve option 2 of $20,025.
is there an option on here to totally waive it?
I wanted to speak on this, but we'll go.
All right, is there a second? Hold on. All right, motion dies for lack of second. All right, let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah,
Make
this-
another motion. Option 1 would forgive the entire lien, correct? Here's how I understand it. I know who this guy is. I met him before. His house is a little, he tried to do some things without a building permit. You know exactly where it's at.
Oh, I pass by it every day.
The guy died, his wife cleaned it up, and now she wants the liens taken off. And I support them taking all the liens off. I mean, they paid our costs out of pocket, correct?
They just paid the administrative charges.
So we're not, Wakulla County citizens are not at a loss on this if we waive their liens, correct?
I'm not in a position to answer that.
They
We
paid the
recouped
administrative
our
costs.
administrative charges. We recouped what we had in.
Is this just a piece of land?
The house
No, there's
probably-
two houses on it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's
Whole house.
There's actually two houses. There's two houses that's on it side by side. The property looks a lot better than what it did. Like I said, I pass by this property every day now. In the height, whenever it was junked up, it was junked up. Even the owner even multicolored painted his house as a statement. But it's been completely cleaned up, and I'm in favor. Even though I talked to staff earlier, I'm in favor along with that of completely doing away with the liens because the family itself is the one that spent their time and their money to totally clean up the property. The owner that it was placed against, the owner's passed away, and I'm not really wanting to stick the family after they have already spent their time and their money to totally bring the property under compliance, and they've already paid the money that we had into it. The rest of this, as far as I'm concerned, the rest of this is numbers on a piece of paper that's not really owed to us. And
Make the motion and I'll second it.
I make the motion that we completely forgive the entire amount.
I second.
Okay, is there any more discussion?
There is discussion.
Okay.
You know, until we start acting more responsibly with regard to it, they're not just numbers on a page. And we go out, and not necessarily in this situation, we go out in other situations, and we spend county dollars. To the extent that we use up the county dollars that we have to spend on these cleanups, and often don't get it back. And there has to be a balancing. And either people have to get used to paying some of these fines or we don't have an effective code enforcement.
2 questions. Is the person that incurred these fines still alive?
No.
Is the county out any cost whatsoever for cleanup or administrative costs?
On this particular piece of property.
If we recaptured our administration, no. But understand this, if you do this, you're setting a very bad precedent.
I don't understand why.
You are.
The man is dead.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're forgiving a large amount of, like Commissioner Kessler said. And you're strapping this code enforcement off. You're really hurting our code enforcement ability.
I would agree with you if the man were still alive, but it's his heirs.
Everybody's got an exception, though. I
But
understand what you're saying.
if I could
Well,
just
maybe-
reiterate,
Yeah.
The fines run with the property, not the person, so
if I can just
you're forgiving the property.
reiterate the reasons for the code board's recommendation, which is stated in the analysis. They forgave the portion of the daily fine as soon as Ms. Thurr took over the property. And the board did consider the fact that she wasn't the one that actually created the violation. So those fines were forgiven during the time that she had responsibility of the property and took care of it.
All right,
So the fines that have accrued are the ones prior to Ms. Thurr
So the
taking over.
fines that option 2 would leave, the $20,000 lien that would stay on the property, those are the fines that were incurred during the time that he was alive.
Correct,
That he was alive,
correct.
but now he's dead.
And the board forgave the
All right.
portion.
I understand. All right,
Okay.
we got a motion and a second.
Okay,
More discussion?
yes, more discussion. The fines go with the land. If we are going to have an effective code enforcement process, those fines have to be respected. The code enforcement reduced fines. Family, when they took over, had an option to say, well, it's not worth it for us to be involved here, and we're walking away from this thing. That was one of their options. But they didn't choose that option. And the county's not in the business of making everybody whole again or making profits for people. Right now, the county gets into bad positions when they can't collect fines. And if we continue to make more room for people not to pay fines, we're not going to have an effective code enforcement process.
So the way that I understand it is that we've already, the administrative costs they've already paid covered the portion that we were out of pocket. Correct.
They paid for the administrative charge, which is the cost for prosecuting a case.
Right. And that's the reason that I said I felt like the rest of this was like numbers on a piece of paper, because it's not like we've loaned any money. It's the money that we spent, we've already recouped. So I think that, and the property was completely cleaned up by the owners, the family of the owners, and I believe that the code enforcement board should be about, the goal was met, the property got cleaned up, and that should satisfy it. We don't need to get in the position to trying to use it to generate revenue. I think we need to work towards cleaning people's property. Whenever the property gets cleaned, the issue's resolved. And we've got all of our money back, and the person who this was against, he has passed away, and his family cleaned it up on their own time, their own money, and I'm in favor of, like I said, just...
Basically, we need to get after the people before they die. Really,
Yes, sir.
when they die, it's a little late to start collecting money.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It wasn't.
The lien goes with the property. It does not go with the person. And that's an important fact that we are about to start making precedent against.
I understand that, but there's a humanitarian...
It's the estate.
Let me tell you the
It's
precedent
against
on
the
this.
estate.
I happen to know
And the
it.
heirs.
That's right.
Heather, you remember this. I bought a foreclosure in Tarpine that had a bunch of fines on it. Jamie, you remember?
Mm-hmm.
From a previous owner for not getting building permits. I bought it, I fixed it, I got it back in compliance, I applied for the liens to be waived, and they were. All right, this board voted to waive it. So, I guess I set the precedent. The man's dead. I don't think we need to punish his family with a $20,000 bill. We got a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? All for the motion? Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes 3-1. Jamie, do you want to...
The next agenda item, request board direction relating to transfer of ownership of property located on 28 Pam Drive. This is the owner of Pam Drive basically has about $47,300 in fines and has offered to the county to just give the property over to the county in lieu of those fees, and the county would be responsible for cleaning it up. And Jamie, you want to take it from there?
Y'all want to talk about this before we make a motion on it? Or, Jamie, just real briefly, describe what it is.
It's still in violation. It's accumulation of rubbish, household garbage, it's a health hazard. You're also facing a separate order from the code board in regards to a dangerous structure that's no longer habitable. So the county is in a position right now with the code board order either to hire someone, a vendor, which we would have to probably go through our procedures with, I'm not sure if it's appropriately called the bid process or because our contracts do not have demolition included. So you're facing removal of what's left of the home and cleanup of the property. And the owner has come to the county and voluntarily turn over the property if the county would like it. So we're facing cleaning it up. Either way, we're in a position where we hire someone to do it and then place a lien on the property, or the county takes ownership and then takes care of the violation. And then, I'm not sure, Heather, but can the county come back and request a reduction?
You're not going to be paying the code fines to
How can
yourself.
we
You're
not?
I don't know how that works. So we wouldn't be faced with the 47 lien?
No.
We are the county.
We're the one enforcing that.
It's a new one for me, I wasn't sure how that worked.
They can't waive it, huh? Thought it went with the property, anyway.
Well, that was just something I wasn't sure about. It's a new one for me.
The one thing, if we do decide to accept this, which I'm in favor of, is that area is a closed basin, there is no drainage, and if we ever needed to build any sort of pond or whatever, that would be a good spot to do it. It's in a low spot that floods.
I make a motion that we accept the property.
Well, the motion, an appropriate motion would be that we continue with the process of seeking the transfer of the property, because we do have to do title work and some things, and the ultimate acceptance will be brought back at a later date.
Would there be any,
Hold on, Howard, a second. Is that your motion now?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Howard.
would there be any testing of the property to see if there are hazardous materials or any such on it?
Well, what our plan is, based upon the title search, seeing what that comes back, that could either trigger a phase 1 environmental or not.
I think it's just old broke down. We don't have a home base. All right, is there a second?
I'm going to second the motion, but also want to discuss one thing about it. Is one thing about it, the biggest reason that I am doing all this is the fact that it's voluntarily. Now, if this was, as somebody had mentioned in the past, if this was the point of trying to involuntarily take someone's property, I would be different. But this is someone who's voluntarily wanting to give their property in lieu of it, and I'm in agreement to that. But in the future, in the event that it comes up involuntarily, then I'm in a whole different position.
It is cheaper for this person to give the property to the county
Yes.
than it is to clean it
Yes.
up.
So that's my questions over here. How much is this property worth right now? Rough figures.
$7,000.
Yeah, somewhere like that.
$7,500.
$7,500. We have $47,000.
In liens, yeah.
We'll never, ever,
All
ever
right.
get it.
So, but what I'm pointing out here is if this person was involuntarily, did not want to give up his property, I heard a commissioner say that they would be unwilling to take that property after a $7,000 property had accrued $47,000 in fines. So what does our code enforcement department do?
Well, just because Richard said that doesn't mean that would be board direction.
Yeah, that's just my own personal
I would,
opinion.
I would probably support foreclosing on in this situation. If I thought it wasn't a complete waste of money, which I think foreclosing on this would be. But if it was a valuable piece of property, I wouldn't just simply, anyway, that'd be for a board to decide in the future.
Jamie, how do you accrue $47,000 worth of fines? How long has this been going on?
September 14th of 2011 is when the code board started imposing a daily fine of $50 per day.
So a year and a half, I guess, is accrued $40,000 in fines in a year and a half. maybe, I mean, I hate to say this, but maybe we need to look at what we're charging for fines.
You also have a separate, there's two code board orders. One was originally imposed for the nuisance accumulation, and there was a habitable structure. When a year later, the occupants abandoned the home, and then it sat in its condition, it started to become a dangerous structure. So we had to bring it back before the code board on a separate violation against the structure.
Was it ever condemned by the building department?
It was not, yes, it was not condemned, but it was deemed a dangerous structure. So you have two separate code board orders and the daily fines that amount to the 47, because they're all under one parcel. Not just one order
I guess
across 47.
my question was, why does it take so long? But you're saying it's just a year and a half, so that's not the end of the world that, we've sit on it forever.
Okay, any more discussion?
Yeah, I think a year and a half is unacceptable. I think we have to be working at a little faster speed than that, and I'm not putting anything on code enforcement.
No pressure.
But we have to, before $47,000 accumulates, I think this county had an obligation to act, and it wasn't done. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I would like to see, if we do end up taking this piece of property, and what Commissioner Chairman Merritt said is accurate about it being in a closed basin, that there be a rider on that no time in the future would that be sold to have any kind of home or whatever else built on it.
I want to further explain what I had said earlier, I want Jamie to verify that, say if you've got 5 pieces of property, they're near one another, all 5 of them are in violation of code enforcement, but the only time the code enforcement is going to get involved whenever someone files a complaint, correct?
The second part's correct. The first part, you can have 5 pieces of property under 5 separate parcel ID numbers, and they're treated differently.
Yes.
If you have 5 under one parcel ID...
I'm talking about five different people, 5 properties, everything. No,
No, you're good. I'm not interrupting.
But what I want to get at is that a complaint is what initially initiates the action of the code enforcement.
Triggers the investigation.
So everything that's
Correct.
done, every fine that's levied, everything that's done from beginning to end is simply trying to satisfy the complaint of another citizen. And what I'm not wanting to get at, I'm not wanting to get in the business of trying to take someone's property ultimately to satisfy whoever it was that made the complaint. Because some of these properties, the owners and owners, I know, I'm not going to name, I know one other person that also has an issue with the code enforcement. He has fines that's close to $20,000 at this point. He doesn't have a job, he rides around on a bicycle, he's got land that's paid for that his parents give him, he has no way to pay that money back. He doesn't even have a way to even haul his junk off. Alright, now, that's the situation. I would hate to foreclose on that person's property, and many others. So basically, everything that's done is done ultimately to satisfy whoever made the complaint.
It wouldn't go that far.
Unless it's a dangerous structure, but if it's just a matter, there's yards all over everywhere that somebody can say is violation of code, but it only comes into effect whenever someone files a complaint.
Our goal is voluntary compliance. If it gets to the code board, we've done everything that we could on our level.
Anything else?
So, just to clarify, how does the board feel about that option?
I want to look into it a little bit more, however,
Okay.
before I committed to that. It may be usable. It is a closed basin, but we may could sell it or whatever.
Yeah, I'm okay
Trade it
with
for
that.
something else,
Understand.
All for the motion? Aye. All against? Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
You go to your dentist appointment now. David?
Thank you, Chairman. This agenda item requests board approval for Restore Act, federal and state project funding support, and authorization for the county administrator to issue a letter of interest to firms interested in providing services. As you know, currently, Pot 2 is the only pot that has a timeline on it as far as any timeline that projects must be submitted to, and that's the federal state pot. Therefore, what I'm asking for in here is to assist us in developing applications for county projects that are suitable for this pot. Projects could include oyster relay seeding, sewer and stormwater projects, Shell Point, Mashes Sands Beach restoration, TCC Environmental Center That's one portion of it. The other would be identify and develop applications for projects not already included in the county 5-year plan, as well as piggybacking on other regional projects. This pot has to do with regional projects. Therefore, the deadline is in July of this year. It's, like I say, it is the only one that has a deadline at this time.
I make a motion, we approve.
I second the motion.
Okay, I've asked a lot of questions about this. I think I'm satisfied with it. Any more discussion?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, all for the motion?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Heather, you wanted to add something to the conversation? Huh? Okay.
I don't think you added that at the
You're after a county attorney. though.
What about the add-on item?
That got approved on consent.
Consent.
I just wanted you are all aware that the legislature has acted an internet cafe or simulated gambling facility ban. It was signed into law last week. According to reports from the sheriff, they are all closed in the county now. You do have a county ordinance on your books that regulates them, and originally we were going to move to repeal that fairly quickly, but I've decided to let it sit there. I've heard rumors that the state law may be challenged, and so I'm going to let it sit on your books until we see what's happening with that.
Okay.
Y'all have any questions about that?
Yes, so if they've been shut down now, and we have regulations, but we don't have the prohibition.
No, we do not. The state banned them. We did not locally. We just regulated.
Okay.
David?
Yes, two announcements. Wakulla County Airport Survey. This is part of our program with Kinley Horn as far as they're applying for a new airport master plan. The survey will be posted on the homepage of our county website, and we encourage the public to go out and take that survey.
When you say survey, what do you mean? Do you want an airport? Do you not want an airport?
Yeah, it's a whole list of questions about the airport, yes, sir.
Can you submit multiple answers?
Well, no, I mean, it's either yes or no. If you do there is a comment section. You can comment on every single one of them, so.
I mean, can you take the survey over and over and over again?
I don't think,
I'm sure somebody will.
I'm sure somebody will.
basically, this survey is not, will we do an airport or will we not? Is that an option?
Yes, we're gleaning information about what do you want to see in an airport, yes. And
I'll
what's your
rephrase
feelings
that
of the airport.
question. This is not a question of, do we want an airport or do
That's
we
right.
not?
That's right.
Well, it may be a question,
Well-
Jerry, like, do you want a paved runway or not? That may be a question. I don't know if it is or not. And
Go on the website and you can see what it is.
it's a small but passionate group when it comes to the airport, so I can see a lot of internet action on that survey.
Yep. Wakulla County Parks Advisory Committee will be holding a public meeting on April 23rd at 7 o'clock right here in the chambers, Commission chambers. The purpose of this meeting is to announce the proposed improvements for Azalea Park, and anyone that uses Azalea Park knows it's in need of which a lot of people do, and it's in the need of repairs. That meeting will be here April 23rd at 7 o'clock, and please come to it because we have some exciting new plans, and we think we've got some stuff that people are going to like, and we want to have the public's input on that before we bring it to the board.
I have one question on that. I have a friend who is handicapped in a wheelchair, and he especially would like a sidewalk from the
We're
little
going to, that
parking.
part of this, we'll take care of everything.
I figured you would, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to put that in.
And a decent bathroom.
That's coming. That'll probably be phase 2.
Bathroom, oh, yeah.
But that's part of the plan, that's part of the master plan, but we got some, according to the amount of money we get, we applied for a grant for a portion of it, and we've got 1 cent sales tax, so we got a lot of need there, but we're gonna see where it takes us, so.
I think we've heard a lot of times that you can tell a lot about a county by how it treats its seniors and its pets. I think we should add the conditions of its bathroom.
That's right.
So
Yeah, and I agree with you.
pet peeve of mine.
So anyway, that's
That it?
all I got.
All right, we're going to go on to citizens to be heard. Brett, Hammond? Is this about Summerwood?
Thank you.
Mine will be very quick. I'm Brett Hammond, 306 Summerwood Drive. This is in reference to the direction we were given last May 21st with regard to the conveyance of Summerwood, and we would like to be bringing it back to the May 6th meeting for formal adoption at that point in time.
but I'll be very quick on that one. Thank you very much for your time.
What I want to ask you, I know you and I have talked, I didn't know if you just wanted to give like just a brief conception.
Well, the brief discussion is we were directed at that time to work with Heather to gain conveyance or partial releases from the owners as well as the financial institutions. At this point in time, we have done what we believe to be correct. I delivered the information to Heather late last week. She's probably not had an opportunity to look at it yet. But my hope is it can be drafted as a formal resolution and come back before you.
I personally commend you. This has been a lot of work.
It's been a trial. It has truly been a trial and an expensive venue.
Yes.
I wonder if that's why when people want a private road paved, and I say, well, get all your neighbors together and get us right away, is that why we don't hear from them anymore?
Yes, it is.
I think there's two reasons, and one is the average person, and nothing against my neighbors or anyone else. The average person walks into a closing agent, goes into an attorney's office or a bank's back room and signs the paperwork to purchase a piece of property. Most people don't realize that private roads are really private. In our case, we did, and we had a homeowners association or a road maintenance organization at that time. We did not know it was going to go defunct in 2004. But my neighbors have not understood the process in large part. It's very difficult to find the individuals at these financial institutions. 3 of these properties were done with Wells Fargo in Beaverton, Oregon, Portland. 1 in Maryland, Wells Fargo. Bank America in Texas, Green Tree Financial, Tempe, Arizona, as well as we have some absentee landowners. So it's a very difficult, very tedious process. Certainly, my neighbors I've borne the expense to do it, but I believe that we should, one, roads are too big for individuals. I believe everyone should be entitled to rest assured that you could have emergency services come to your home. School buses, pick up and access and drop your children off at your doorstep, and just public safety. So that was what it was.
Thank you,
We
sir.
hope to see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I do enjoy these afternoon county commission meetings, not at night. Walt Dixon from representing Panacea Waterfront 2020. 2 things. Our meeting committee wanted me to bring up and discuss with the county. Number 1 is some type of a small sign down at Rock Landing Dock to let the commercial people know who to contact to try to rent one of the boat slips at the dock there. Maybe briefly we can do that. Just want to bring that up. The second thing that we discussed and wanted to bring before the commission and the county is, we charge for boat ramps now. We charge $5 on the honor system, or you can buy a season pass, I believe, for $40 or $25 for commercial. Some of these have been vandalized and the county's lost revenue. What they were interested in and asked in the county was to make it very friendly to be able to get a season pass. In other words, AMS in that art that sells bait and tackle, Crumbs that sells bait and tackle, the Coastal Corner, folks like the River bait and tackle, perhaps the Bad Bob's there in Sop Chop that sells bait and tackle, the other places in the county. Make it friendly for the people to buy these season passes, and that way, with encouraging more people to buy season passes, then the county would generate more revenue this way, and it'd make it a lot easier to do this. I think you bring in more revenue, and it'll cut down, hopefully, on people destroying the boat ramp, the things at the boat ramp to collect money, and cut down, hopefully, on the expenses and everything people trying to destroy these. So that's just the 2 of the items we brought up, and just want to bring it to your attention. And the third thing behind what Mark says is our Rocky Dock fishing tournament coming up. Certain public's invited. Look forward to each of you coming. And we'd also like to say you $100 raffle on a boat ticket too. You got a great chance of winning. So, and the third thing on behalf of Panacea is you won't be meeting before then, but the first Saturday in May is the Blue Crab Festival. So continuing all these activities behind these 2 weeks with Wakulla, Wild About Wakullas. It's great that we are advertising Wakulla and inviting everybody to come see our county. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. And Jerry's going to talk about the boat ramps under discussion item. Bob?
Hello, my name's Bob Danzy. Thank you for letting me speak. And I too agree with Walt that it's kind of nice to be here this time of day. And I know for the people that work with the county, it must be better than getting off work and going to a meeting. So good for us. Now, what I came up here for is a subject that is an old one, but a really good one. And that is, I think it's time. I think the environment's right for looking back into the wetlands ordinance and maybe getting rid of that. The state's put things in place that will do much of what the wetlands ordinance does, and we don't have the liability for it. And what I mean by that is the wetlands ordinance, you know, Jamie has to work on it, has to answer all the complaints, then it has to be prosecuted. It costs money. And after all of that, when we get to a point to where we've got a person in violation and they disagree, they file a lawsuit, the county has to fight that lawsuit. So then there's other costs there, and that's hundreds of thousands of dollars. Several times the county has lost those lawsuits and had to pay out hundreds of thousands of dollars at the time to defend them. So, it's just my opinion that it's I'm not against the bugs and the lizards and the recharging the aquifer. I mean, that's gonna get done. We've got a lot of forest. We've got 500,000 acres of forest to the west of us and probably 1.5 million acres to the east of us, between here and Perry. I have no idea how many is over there, but it's a big place. I think from an economic standpoint, that's where I come to this, the angle I come in at. It'll be better to allow the state to fight these battles with their guidelines and their rules. It will accomplish the same thing. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, that's it for the meeting. Jerry, you want to talk about that vote?
Yeah. Mr. Walt, your idea on I had mentioned this to Mr. Edwards, but I'm in favor. One of the things is when somebody's coming down here to fish, or our local folks on the permit, I think that we should give Ronald Fred, AMS, Mike's Marine, the Harbor House, they should be able to come buy 10, 20, or 30 tickets at a price, and then they have a price that people can go to them and buy the annual pass. Let's just say that the annual pass is what, 40 for regular folks? We sell them for 30 to all these people. We tell them that they can sell them for 40, so it's worth their time and effort to do the transaction. But right now, not a lot of folks are going over to the rec park to get their thing. I think we could solve a lot of this conversation by doing that. Now, on the $5 ticket, on the daily, that's a little more difficult, but I think we could still sell a book of 50 $5 tickets, sell them to Ronald Fred for 3 and let him sell them for 5. We get out of the accounting, whatever. That may be simplistic.
That actually intensifies our accounting. I understand what you're saying.
Is there any way to sell anything?
Well, as of right now, there's not a way to sell those, and we'd have to check about selling them for profit, but that we're working on that possibility with the clerk's office, as well as a new type of pay station that you'd be able to pay for everything, your annual pass, everything in one shot.
On the internet?
Via the internet, yeah. As well as at each one of our locations, and possibly doing the same thing. Because we brought that up, understand we have to run through the clerk on all this stuff. So we brought that up to the clerk, and that's something that we're working on, along with about 4 or 5 other big projects with the clerk. And
they mark up like fishing license, do they?
Well, that's where we'd have to set a price, and they'd have to sell them for.
Well, I think they'll be more than willing to do it if we will just do it.
Right. I know, and we're with you. We just got to get the process worked out before we can institute that.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But with all due respect, it only took us 3 years to get a lease for the dock.
That's right.
And that's
right.
I'm not.
That's not true. Those leases were approved years ago.
That's right.
You just haven't found any
That's right, that's the problem. We can put up all the signs we want, but there's nobody.
Well, it's
In fact, we can't get the ones that we got there out, so, but I understand what you said. We're gonna be putting the sign I've already talked to Rod about that, so we're working on that.
I know, I don't want to push you or anything, but how
I know.
soon will we have the internet set up?
We're working on, Greg's working on that. We're working on that and about 4 or 5 other ways to start paying via internet for all county services. And that's one of them. Because right now, there's a lot of stuff you can't pay via the internet for on our county.
I could see that Ronald Fred would sell, and him and many others, I can see that if we gave him 50 tickets and charged him $250 for them, he might just sell those tickets to have the people come into his store and buy another $15 worth of merchandise.
That's right, that's right.
So I can't see why we can't just do that.
We can. We gotta work.
Then let's do it.
We gotta work that procedure out with the clerk. Man.
We'll work it out. How soon can we work it out? Where's the clerk?
Well, we've got, you gotta understand, we gotta get a lot of information for that, but yes, we're
How
working
was the
that out.
procedure worked out where the people would pay for a Mash's Sands gate pass at Ronald Fred's place?
It would be the same way.
A couple of years ago, I know they could buy.
That's one of the reasons we quit that. I understand that did not run very well.
Well, I can
That's
just...
something we've talked about, because trust me, all this stuff you're talking about, we've talked about this very same thing. We're just trying to implement it with what staff we've got
I
and
understand
the
that.
procedures that we have to work with right now.
I oversimplify things, but I can't...
And it is that simple. It is that simple, but it's that complicated as well.
It's a little tricky because it's public funds.
That's right.
So there's a special accounting for it.
That's right.
I think it'd be simple to collect money at the landfill and you bring your garbage in, you hand somebody $1, you go dump your garbage. But that was a major issue.
Well, the way we can have it is Heather can sell 50 tickets and put the money in her purse, and
All right, let's
Well-
move on.
I want to comment on a couple of those things.
Go ahead.
One was the last idea to have the sale of those tickets, if they were, or passes, if they were done at private businesses at no additional add-on, was that
That's
what you
right.
said? Okay. And then, I think, talking about the dock and the lack of leases at the dock, I think that's a very good example of not taking everything at face value, what's said before the board, because when that came before the board, we were given all of these assurances of how this was going to be this game changer for Wakulla County, and all of these spaces were going to be rented. And as a matter of fact, we even altered the height of that dock for an additional $30,000+, I think.
That's right.
All on the words that proved to not be accurate. There was supposed to be a big charter boat here, et cetera, et cetera. So I think when people are getting up and saying things, we have to take some of that with a grain of salt.
Well, I think the dock is, I think it's fine, it's just that we can't ever get to the point where I can go down there and lease a space.
I've been telling you for a year, anybody, all they gotta do is just call the Parks and Rec or ask somebody and we will get them a lease that day. But understand, it has been crickets. We can't get the people that's there to sign a lease.
Well, I like Walt's suggestion then that we put a sign out there saying. you wanna
We're
leave-
gonna put a sign up there, but I can tell you what'll happen. It's gonna be crickets after that, because if somebody really wanted to lease a space, guess what? They'd already found us.
Are
We have a commercial
are we-
vessel.
Are we competitive with other
Yes,
leases?
we're under them, so.
It's my
But it's
understanding-
it's commercial guys only.
It's my understanding, the other night, we authorized the sheriff to be able to do his job on that.
That's in the process of doing that.
That's in the
May 6th,
process.
May 6th, that's
When will
right.
that be done?
That'll be done just as soon as y'all authorize that.
How soon can we do it?
May 6th
May
is
6th.
scheduled for public hearing.
Good,
Yeah.
bring it
I
up.
sound naive, but only commercial boats
Yes,
can
it is
have
for
dock,
commercial vessels, yes.
and that was restricted because of a.
That was part of the grant stipulation.
That really that really hinders us.
How much of the economy you think plays a factor? Because in the county below me, you know, they've got way more boat slips than we got, but a lot of their commercial boat slips are also empty due to economics.
Sure,
And
a
I
lot of
think
economy has a lot to do with it.
If we had to, if the economy turned around, I believe that we would see it, and I think, you know, that may have a factor, just the down economy we're in right now.
Well, at the end of the day, we don't have a lot of head boats and stuff that run out of here, so.
Right.
I think a lot of the commercial fishing we do is either an oyster boat or a crab boat, which don't need a rental slip.
And they pull their boats out on every day just about.
Anything else, Jerry?
No, yeah, I have one. Our reporter has a new associate back here in the back. Would you like to introduce this lady to us?
We don't need to put them on the spot right now.
Well, I have mentioned to her that she should write a lot of good articles about me. So I just want to go on record.
Fair enough. Also, I wanted to mention, Jessica, we're channel, is it 16 now? Is basically Wakulla County.
Yes.
So any ideas? You know, I think they're going to start putting in bids on there, job openings. You just scroll all day. I suggested we put Jerry and Miss Arch dancing on there, scrolling all day.
That's gonna be on the bottom right-hand side,
That Wild About Wakulla dance he did. Yes. But hopefully, and then the good thing is these meetings can now be, at some point will be rebroadcast
They will be.
several times a week. So if somebody can't make it to watch it at home at 2 or at 5, they can watch it later.
We'll roll it all out here soon.
Jessica has a big master plan she's gonna roll out here shortly.
Good. And it won't cost us anything.
No.
Good, that's even better. Richard?
I just want to let everybody know that on April 20th, Saturday, April 20th, is going to be the Wakulla Wildlife Festival at the Wakulla Springs State Park. And if you've never been to this festival, it's definitely worth going to. There's a lot to see and do there that day.
Thank you. Howard?
Yeah. So, on the board's opinion, if they, have any desire to come out with a resolution against slap suits.
What is that?
Those are those suits that are, designed to silence citizens, that, other,
That's a pretty broad
well,
statement. I mean, that could be, I mean, what is it? Is this the same issue that came up before when explain to me what a slap suit is,
Well-
in more specific terms.
well, that's pretty much specific. If you basically take Nestle's, and someone from the audience gets up and says they're against bottled water, and they throw some suit against them. Little or no merit.
Against
Well,
Nestle.
No, Nestle throws a suit against the private citizen.
They wouldn't need to justify it in any way?
Yeah, they do, and they lose in court.
But I mean,
They lose in court, but the private citizen has to pay all of those fees defending himself.
I'm not going to get the county in the middle of that.
Well, it's a resolution we're talking about, we're not talking about an ordinance. We're talking about a statement from the Board of County Commissioners saying that they're against suits that are designed to silence citizen input.
and what
What's the history? I mean,
what would this do? I mean, is this just a statement? We could just as easily say we're against hungry children in Africa? Is it gonna do anything, or is it just a generic statement?
The next step would be to forward that on to our state legislatures and to encourage other counties to pass similar resolutions. The cure for this rests with our state legislators, but if you don't put any fire underneath them,
I guess, me not being an attorney, it'd be hard, how do you delineate what is a slap suit and what isn't a slap suit?
well, the way I vote, go ahead.
I mean, is there any legal definition of slap suit, or just corporations shouldn't be able to sue individuals, or?
Oh, it's pretty broad. I mean, I think the ultimate remedy would be, is having it deemed a frivolous lawsuit, and then the citizen would be entitled to get recovery of their attorney's fees. That already exists, but I guess if you wanted to go further than that, I'd have to explore it.
Does this apply to the citizen also doing a frivolous lawsuit against the
Well, let me interrupt for 1 second, if I might, to the county attorney. To prove frivolous, okay, is a pretty considered bar most of the time. And so, if you have a good attorney, and they fashion the suit right, it can be almost as frivolous as you want to make it, and there could be something in there that could be merit, and that frivolous doesn't hold up. It's very rare to get a frivolous ruling by a judge. The SLAPP suit is intended, it doesn't matter what's, three of our citizens got sued in our county here some years back, and one of the complaints in it was that they knew too much.
And this was by a corporation that sued them?
This was on behalf of an LLC, I think.
I know 2 of our former county commissioners also got sued by citizens that some would call a frivolous lawsuit because it was dismissed. And would this cover, well...
I don't know that a dismiss falls into equating it to frivolous.
Well, I mean, some people would say it was. I'm not taking either side, but I'm just saying it's hard to define what is frivolous and what is
Well,
not.
I'll tell you what, maybe I can show some examples of people standing up and saying things that were either their opinion or based on fact and being sued for opening their mouths and saying that. That's the point of it. But if there's any interest on the board, I would certainly do some research and send you some of those examples.
I'd like to see some examples. I'm
Sure.
not willing to commit right now to supporting it because I think it's a can of worms that I don't understand enough about, and I don't think that
Okay.
whatever benefits derived from it is going to be worth the,
The only benefit...
sounds like it may be a passionate item for some people, and there's probably going to be people on the other side of the aisle that are passionate the other way.
There are many other states that have addressed this issue and protected their citizens. Florida is not one of them.
Examples from other states will be very helpful.
Okay. I'll get states that have passed legislation.
And there's no violation of sunshine for Howard to send us that information, correct? Even though he
You can
may...
just bring it back as an agenda item?
I'll bring it back either under discussion and handouts or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure. Okay, let me just make a note there. I have several more things, though.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going back to the Planning and Zoning Board, and I discussed this before on the discussion items, and I still think that, I believe there's a skewed representation on this board. I know we got into saying basically in 2 of our districts now, they have double representation. They have the city that's in it, and they have the regular representative. And then we get into a discussion on, well, how much does the county give, and how much does these... And I was wondering if the board would be the desire of the board to find out what amount of property tax each of the municipalities pay to the county, and then we can look at what services we pay to the county and take a look at that argument if the board so desires.
I don't think me personally, I've checked into that personally, which I think we as commissioners probably should do. I'm satisfied with my answer, so I'm personally, I don't want to see it back in the agenda.
So do you know how much the municipalities are paying?
I know what you had talked about that night. I checked in on that about they're not paying this PST and what's the difference between the two. Yes, I did check them out. Do I know the exact dollar figure? No.
I recommended that we put the Sopchoppy and St. Mark's back on the Planning Commission because those people need to be represented in the county. They pay taxes to the county, they live in the county, they spend their money in the county, and they need to have representation. So I'm not going to change the status.
And the representation exists for them in District 5 and in District 4. Representation exists for those citizens to be represented through their county commissioners' appointees.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say that whenever Jerry brought that up, You know, I was a city commissioner at the time, and I came and I spoke in favor of that, in favor of Sopchoppy and St. Mark's having their vote back on there. And there's nine members, there's 9 voting members of the commission, right? Nine voting members of the planning commission? Okay, there's no way you can do the math to where if you've got 9 voting members who are spread up against 5 districts, you're gonna ultimately have a district with 2 or 3 representatives out of that district.
What about the minority representation, Howard? Wouldn't your logic apply to that also? That it's possible for a district to have 2 representatives, one being the minority representative and one being the commission representative? What's the difference, if so?
Well, I'd have to go back to the statutes that apply there and see what we're mandated to put in there as opposed to what we electively can put in
You have
there.
a minority representative on the planning commission, correct?
I believe so. I had
It
to
is
look at
possible,
the
like I said, let's say that person was in my district, whoever it was in my district, then my district would have 2 representatives. It
Well,
would be my person and the minority person.
I think there's a big difference between that issue of a minority person and the issue of having another municipality in that district. They also have a vote on the county's planning and zoning board. The county's planning and zoning, it's the county's. And our responsibility, first and foremost, should be as commissioners, as county commissioners, to the county. The other,
In the county.
Well,
and they are represented through their districts.
I guess I strongly supported putting it back on there also. I don't know if that gives you the answer. It sounds
Yeah, it sounds like I do, but I just want to know, I don't have the resources to direct staff for those numbers, and I'd like to see what the actual numbers of property tax paid by each of those municipalities are. Would the board,
Is that something extremely easy to get? If it's easy, fine. If it's going to take staff time, I believe we can do that.
It really doesn't matter to me what staff comes up with. I'm not going to vote to take either St. Mark's or Sopchoppy off
Either
that
am I.
commission.
I will not vote to remove them, but I want to add, I want to add one thing, there's some things that need to be said, that 100% of the money, there is no municipal ad valorem tax inside the city limits. There is none. The only ad valorem tax is the tax that goes to the county. The county already receives 100% of the ad valorem tax that goes to it. The county receives 100% of the sewer money that goes to it. Any building that's done inside the city limits, the county receives 100% of the building money. If they went back, whenever there was impact fees, the county received 100% of that. And the study had already been done, and it's heavily in the county's favor of how much money Sopchoppy is flowing to the county and how much services is the county coming back to Sopchoppy. But the other reason that I feel that is very important for the city of Sopchoppy to have a voting member of that planning council is the fact that the water system stretches from Oakland State Park to almost to Walmart. The 2/3 of the Sopchoppy's water system spreads throughout the county, so decisions that are made on the planning and zoning would directly affect Sopchoppy's ability to be able to provide that water, which for that reason alone, in my mind, means that Sopchoppy definitely needs to have a voting seat at the table.
I don't know if this is academic again, but I went over some of these things. The Sopchoppy City Park, for example, and the Fort boat ramp are 2 city facilities, correct? That they pay to maintain, but even though I don't live in the city limits, I can go to the fort and put my boat in, or I can go to the Sopchoppy City Park. So it does work both ways. But if what you want is simple to find, fine.
I think we deserve the facts when we're making these decisions. It should be part of what we're looking at.
With all due respect, which decision? What facts do we deserve before making which decision? What decision are you talking about?
Right. I think just the discussion that just happened now about 100% of the ad valorem going to the county, of course it does. Of course it does. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is representation. If you have a 1/16 of the overall property tax in a municipality, does that give them the right to have another full representation
Why
on
don't
the
we say
planning and
that
zoning?
Shell Point has 2 representatives, because I'll guarantee you their ad valorem taxes are a lot higher that they pay in there than my district. Does that mean if you pay more taxes, you should have more representation?
No, I'm just saying county county planning and zoning is county planning and zoning. It's not St. Mark's planning and zoning, and it's not Sopchoppy planning and zoning. It's the county, and it's the county's decisions. And
What about how does the Tallahassee-Leon County Planning Commission work? Are they joint?
They have a joint one, but I think the distinction here is that the county land development code does not apply within the city limits of the two municipalities. And that's different than it is in Tallahassee-Leon County. They have a joint,
So they have their
They have
own
a
comp, they have their
they
own
have a
comp plan, their
completely
own
different-
code.
it's comprehensive.
yeah.
Ours isn't. We're excluded from those municipalities. So if we're excluded from those municipalities, how are we letting the municipalities wag us? And that's the point.
I understand.
Okay?
There is a,
This issue has come up.
Yeah, that's
several
okay.
times.
That's all right. If I can get those numbers, I'd just like to see them.
and I just want you to know, I will never vote to remove Sopchoppy St. Mark's from the planning and zoning.
Neither will I.
I think you got the answer on that one. Jake, anything else to talk about?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
I'm just, I came in here with nothing to put on, but then they said there was a new reporter and there's a small agenda on the meeting, and I just had to find some work for her,
Get it in, we don't.
All right. We're going to be dealing with the budget, we're going to be dealing with the cost of medicine again, health plans, insurance. And for me, if you don't know where I come from on this thing, is that this whole model that the U.S. has right now is turned upside down. There's no way that the model that we have is efficient, and it's not working in many of our areas in medicine right now. We're not even third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh. We're 24th in 30. I mean, it's embarrassing, okay? At the same time, we spend more for our health care, part of gross national product, than any other industrialized country on the face of the earth. There has to be a sea change here where people start getting angry with the system. And part of that may be happening during this budget crisis, and I'll get to livable wage in a second. But we have to have all of our employees understanding that the burden that this health cost is having on not just industry out there, but our local government. And I know it's touchy, no one likes to have their health, messed with. But, something happened along the way where all of a sudden the employer was supposed to be providing health insurance. And most of them did willingly when the costs were reasonable. I don't think there was anyone in the United States that really refused providing health insurance. But right now, we have raises every year outstripping cost of inflation by multiples. There's no way that...
Raises you mean in health insurance?
Yes.
Not in county employee rate?
No, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. In health insurance, we're faced with it every year. It's been a battle every year. And so that's one thing. At the same time, we want our employees to have a livable wage. We want them to be able to raise a family and have a reasonable good time of going through this life experience. But there are going to be times out there when privatization may come up as an issue of, well, should we privatize? I have yet to see models where privatization is really doing a whole bunch. Sometimes it may work, but often we either lose benefits to our employees or it ends up costing us more because there's a third party now grabbing a profit out of it, or we get less service. So I just wanted to put those thoughts in as we go into the budget
And
process.
as you well know, ran the privatized county department for about 8 years. Please does that now. I think I may have mentioned that before in the past. But you're right. When a private industry takes over something, there's profit. I mean, that's just the American way. And the trade-off in the public works department is, I guess, is that basically we have one person deal, that we don't have to worry about the day-to-day operations of the personnel. But anyway, that's a long discussion.
Since Public Works was singled out, I think we're all very happy with Public Works the way it runs. I mean, it's very responsive to our citizens. just like some other areas of our county government, it's just one that, even though it's technically not our county government, it's subcontracted out there, but it works like a charm.
And let me give you, I won't drag this out too long, but why it was privatized, one reason why I think, my understanding is more, a lot of interference by individual commissioners, you know, riding the side of the grader, get off this road, come over to my district and grade the road, and it was, now it's much more hands-off and let them deal with it. But anyway,
Yep.
anything else?
No, I'm finished.
All right,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second motion.
motion passes. Aye. Are all y'all going to the TCC thing? Howard's gonna go?